Hello everyone, Cindy here with Monarch Mom DIY. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where I love to bring you the best tips and tools to inspire you to create beautiful home decor on a budget. Today I am here with my patriotic themed elements for my tiered tray house. I hope that you can use some of these ideas to make small little decorations for any small area that you like to change out seasonally, whether it's a tiered tray or just a small shelf in your home. So with all that being said, let's get crafting. For today's first DIY, we're going to make this patriotic faux book stack using one of the crates from Dollar Tree, some mini letter stickers, and some red, blue, and white chalk paint. So I'm using painter's tape here. The first thing I'm doing is taping off the top, or actually bottom section of the crate, which is going to be the top of our book stack. I am going all the way around, but I'm only going to be painting the front section and the very top. I'm going to use lacquer for my red on this. It's a little bit brighter than the crimson. And like I said, I'm going to do what would be one of the covers of this top book and also the spine. So I'm just going to do the front. I'm not going to paint where the pages of the books would be. So once that red section is painted and dry, we'll remove the painter's tape and we'll move it now to tape off the bottom section. This book spine is going to be blue. Again, I'm doing the tape all the way around, but I'm not going to be painting the sides or the back of my faux book stack. If you want to make lines on the sides and the back to where each book would start and finish, you can do that, but I did not do that. So I'm painting my bottom book with Ocean, the Waverly chalk paint that is most like a royal blue once it dries. Then once those two sections are dry, we'll tape off that middle section that we will paint for this spine white. Once all three of our book spines have been painted, I'm using these mini letter stickers. These are, I believe, from Creative Memories years ago. I'm using them, I'm starting on the right, so the end of each word, I'm going to put life, liberty, and freedom with these black stickers. Sometimes I like to use my Magnolia stencils if I have words that will fit on the book stacks, but this time I'm showing you the alternative to using mini alphabet stickers. Then once all of our sticker letters have been placed, I am going to do some Mod Podge over top just to make sure that those stickers stay down and they don't peel off. I decided for a little extra decoration to add a rectangle of patriotic scrapbook paper to the top of my book stack. So I measured the top of the crate and then I'm cutting this rectangle of paper just a little bit smaller so that you still see that outline of the red paint all the way around. So once I have it the right size, I'm going to put a layer of Mod Podge on the top of my book stack, and then we'll get that scrapbook paper attached down. And once it's in place and secure, we'll go over the top of it as well with some Mod Podge. Our last step on the book stack will be to add a little bit of jute twine around the left-hand side. So I'm just putting a little bit of hot glue on the inside and attaching the end of the jute twine. Then we'll wrap it around 3 or 4 times and then trim it and tack the other end down on the inside of the crate as well. I decided it needed one more thing, so I'm taking these 3 ribbons and I'm going to do a small messy bow that we will then glue to the top of the jute twine on top of our book stack. So I'm just taking pieces of the ribbon, crisscrossing them, flipping them over to the back. I'm going to tie them with a piece of jute twine to make them all stay together. Then once I have it tied together, I'm just going to use my scissors to trim up the pieces of ribbon so that they're layered, kind of smaller ones in the front out to the larger ones in the back. The blue with stars, I'm just going to angle cut. Then the white with stripes, I'm going to do a dovetail and then just angle cut the red. That's more of like a mesh type of clear ribbon. And that's our first project for our Patriotic tiered tray house. Our little book stack will add that up to the very top of our house. If you're stopping by my channel for the first time today, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. I hope you'll consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. I also hope everyone will tap the bell. Make sure that your notifications are set to all, so YouTube should let you know each time I upload a new video or go live here on my channel. And if you are one of my returning viewers or subscribers, thank you so much for your continued support of my channel. The second DIY we're going to make today for our patriotic house are these heart stuffies. I'm using the red buffalo check and the blue buffalo check fabric from Dollar Tree, some polyfill stuffing, and this heart shape that I'm just going to trace around. So my fabric is folded in half, so I'm tracing 2 hearts onto the blue and 2 hearts onto the red. And then once I cut these out, I will actually have 8 hearts, but I'm going to have 4 pairs that are backed up. Now I am cutting these with my pinking shears. You of course could cut them with regular scissors, and I didn't pin these together. I'm just trying to hold them as close as I can together, the 2 pieces that will be the front and the back of each of my heart stuffies. So once you have all of your hearts cut out, lining them up as close as you can, I'm just doing a bead of hot glue to glue part of the heart together. This is just to tack the 2 pieces together. You're not going to want to go all the way around yet because you want to leave a space to put the polyfill inside. So I'm going to do about halfway around each of my 4 hearts, and then we'll come back to the first one and start stuffing it with a little bit of the polyfill and then gluing the rest of the way around the heart a little bit at a time. And here's our cute little heart stuffies. I love that you can make these really quick and easily. And I just stuffed 2 in the top left crate and 2 in one of the drawers. For DIY number 3, we're going to decorate one of our mini rolling pins from Magnolia. I'm also going to use some ribbon, and I'm going to use part of this Faith Family Freedom stencil from Magnolia as well. Now this rolling pin, I had already started painting it white, so I'm just finishing it up and touching up some of the areas with my Waverly chalk paint in white. Once that is completely dry, we will also put a little bit of Mod Podge on it, and then we're going to stencil it. Now I am just looking to use 4 of the stars and some of the stripes there at the bottom. So once I get it lined up onto the middle section of my rolling pin, I'm going to use Old Glory Blue and Old Glory Red to stencil those stars and stripes onto my rolling pin. Once that chalk paste was dry, I did give it a little spray with the clear matte spray. And then I'm just taking this sheer red ribbon. I'm going to tie a knot on either side of our handles and just trim that off to finish off our rolling pin. If you love budget home decor DIY videos like this, I hope you'll consider giving this video a thumbs up, as that lets YouTube know people are enjoying my content, and then they will show it to more and more viewers. For DIY number 4, we're going to make a beaded garland with a patriotic theme. Now these I had gotten from Magnolia as a kit. I believe it was actually a craft club kit, but you can take any wood shape and use beads and jute twine. I am using this God Bless America from our Freedom mini stencil set, and I'm just going to put that on the front of my red heart with some white chalk paste. Once I have that done, we'll set it aside to dry, and then I'm going to take the jute and I'm just going to string some of these red, white, and blue beads until I get my beaded garland the length that I want. Once I had the beads as long as I wanted them, now I'm taking that same string and I'm going to tie on my heart, and I'm just going to tie this in a double knot close to that first bead. Then to hide the end of the string and give it a more clean finished look, I'm going to string it back through that blue bead. And then once I pull it through, I'm going to trim that piece right close to the bead, push the next bead down, and then you can't see the end of that piece. Now on this other end, I'm going to just cut a length of the jute twine, and then I have a tassel that actually came from a bead strand from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to tie this onto the end of my beaded garland. Otherwise, it's really easy to make a tassel using more of that jute twine. Wrap it around your fingers until you get the length that you want, and then tie it at the top for a neck, trim the ends, and you've got a tassel. So we're adding this now to our tiered tray house. You can see I just have it kind of sitting, coming out of one of the drawers. For DIY number 5, we're going to update the 4 blocks that sit in the center of our tiered tray house. And we're also going to use a little bit of Patriotic scrapbook paper and some poster sticker letters from Dollar Tree. So the inside of the house for Easter said hop with a bunny on the 4th block. I'm going to turn these blocks twice around, and we're going to paint 2 sides, which will be the front and the top of the blocks, how we're going to use them. And we're going to use plaster just to match the house. I did use white on the rolling pin, so you could really use white or plaster depending on the scrapbook paper that you're going to use. Now these blocks measure about 2 1/4 inch square, so I usually cut the scrapbook paper at 2 inches square. I'm cutting here 2 of these red with the white polka dots. I'm only going to end up using 1 of them. And then I'm going to cut 2 of this blue wood grain looking paper. I am going to use 2 squares of this. So now we're going to Mod Podge these 3 squares of scrapbook paper on. You see I'm going to leave the 4th block plain because we're actually going to stencil something on here. So here I'm just brushing a little bit of Mod Podge on the front of each of these 3 blocks, and we're going to Mod Podge these scrapbook paper squares down. I'm also going to Mod Podge the 4th block just to kind of seal the paint and the wood in order to be able to stencil on it. Next, once that paper is secured, I'm going to put my poster sticker letters, U, S, and then A on the bottom row. And then we'll use one of our Magnolia Freedom Mini stencils to stencil a flag heart on that 4th block. Now once all those are done, I'm putting Mod Podge on the sticker letters, and oops, I should not have put Mod Podge on my stenciled heart because that is going to cause my chalk paste to reactivate. In other words, it's going to smear. So I'm going to do my very best to get it to not smear. You can see it did a little bit. Next time, just spray it with the clear matte spray. And here's our blocks redone for our Patriotic tiered tray house. For a complete list of all of the tools and supplies I've used in today's projects, click the down arrow next to the title of this video or click more in the description. That will expand the description box, and there you will see by project the items that I used. You'll also find links there for my Magnolia Design Co. website and my Amazon storefront. For DIY number 6, I'm going to show you how you can take a rectangular block of wood and make it into a flag using painter's tape, some chalk paint, and this small wood star. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm measuring off every 1/2 inch on my block. I'm going to do this on both ends. This is just going to give me a mark that I can line up my painter's tape on. So I'm going to mark off basically 1 or 2 stripes at a time and fill those in with my chalk paint. Again, I'm using lacquer for my red, and I will use white for the other stripes. Then once we get the stripes done, we will do the rectangle in the top left corner with our ocean blue. So this is really easy to do if you just take your time and use the painter's tape to get nice, straight, crisp lines. And then once your stripes on either side are dry, you can lay tape on those to do the other stripes. And while I'm waiting for some of the stripes to dry, I'm also going to give this little wood heart a coat of white chalk paint as well. Once all my paint was dry for my blue rectangle and my red and white stripes, I am going to seal this with 1 layer of the clear matte finish Mod Podge. And our last step will just be to hot glue our white star onto the blue rectangle. And there is another easy addition to our Patriotic tiered tray house. If you're on Facebook, I would love it if you would follow my Monarch Mom DIY Facebook page. I do go live there about 3 times a week doing different projects than what I'm showing here on YouTube. For our final DIY for our tiered tray house, we're going to make a patriotic version of a house using this house shape from Dollar Tree, as well as another Magnolia stencil, a small little wood heart from Dollar Tree, and this blue chalk paint. So I'm going to give the entire house, front, back, and the sides, a coat of this Ocean Waverly chalk paint. I just love this blue color for Patriotic DIYs. Then on just the front where I'm going to be stenciling, I am going to put a layer of the matte finish Mod Podge. This just gives us a nice smooth surface to give us the best stencil image as possible. I'm using this Land of the Free stencil. This was from a stencil set from Magnolia, and I'm just going to press that on really well, and we're going to stencil that with our white chalk paste. Once that's dry, I'm going to add this little red heart to the top of the house, and then I'm going to wrap a little bit of jute twine between the stencil and the heart just for a little added touch. So I am going to hot glue it just a little bit here on the back to make sure it doesn't all slide around. And once we have that secured and in place, we'll wrap it a few times. It's okay if it covers a little bit of the tops of the L and D in the word land, and you can go up onto the slanted part too if you'd like. I just make sure to tack it down with some glue a little bit so it doesn't all slide off. Then once I have it wrapped as many times as I'd like, go ahead and trim your jute twine and tie your knot, and then you're good to go. Thanks again so much for joining me today. Please let me know in the comments which of these projects was your favorite, and we'll see you next time. Take care.